Welcome to WeCan, Beth Mazza. I'm excited to have you. You're a powerhouse, serial entrepreneur, dynamic speaker, dedicated to empowering women to break free from corporate constraints and build thriving, scalable $1 million businesses. And you run your latest company, Female Mavericks, with your partner, Victoria, and before that you founded Ashton Partners and Clermont Partners, and you built businesses up to $40 million evaluation. And you help women now crack the ceiling to 7-figure companies while also running a family. Beth, tell us a little bit about those pivotal points that led you to where you are today.
Well, I think the most pivotal point for any entrepreneur that I didn't go through is that self-doubt where you have a business idea, you've really done the math and you've done the planning, and you think, I could do this. And either I want to do this because it's going to work better in my life, or I want to do this because I'm going to make more money. And then what I see so many women do is they get to a complete stop. They've done all the mental work, they've done all the financial work, and then they stop. They just can't pivot, or they just can't jump in. And so I think that is like the most important moment. And I was blessed that I did not have that moment. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My dad is like a great crotchety old Italian guy, and you would think that he would be a little bit biased about a daughter versus his sons. He was not. He treated us all exactly the same as it relates to entrepreneurship. He was a huge supporter, a huge advisor. So I think I personally was brought up in a household where that's what you did. So I didn't have that moment where I wasn't going to jump. And I will say that my partner grew up in the exact same household, just like transferred out because her dad was Greek, mine was Italian, but no difference. She had all brothers, no difference. And her dad was supportive of her, but it wasn't part of the ecosystem for her. So she actually did have a really hard time jumping, and she'll tell you it's because she knew she wanted to have kids. She started working for me and saw, well, she's kind of doing it with kids. And so that pushed her over the edge. But I think one is just that moment. And I think we have to honor that moment, and we have to push our way through it. Like that is an actual process. In the book that we wrote that will come out in the fall, we've got sort of a 5-step mindset of how you get over it. But conceptually, you have to honor it. You have to visualize what success looks like. But more important, you have to give yourself your own pep talk, which is, I've done hard things. Here's 4 examples of when I did things I didn't think I could do, or other people didn't think I could do. So you go through that every day. The second part is I have a great plan. The worst that could happen is fill in the blank, and you go through that again. And then every day you just take one little step forward. You call the bank to set up the checking account. You're almost fooling yourself and saying, I'll just set up a checking account. Probably I won't use it, but you never know. And you just got to do that every day. And then what I find women I mentor is then they're sort of in it. But that pivotal moment, I think, was really big. And then for me, I think the second moment was the real decision to scale, which was going to put me under financial pressure. And at the time, I was the primary breadwinner. And so being able to make that decision to say, I am going to double down on what I've made, and I am going to take a risk that is not just a business risk, but it's my family's risk as well. And I'm not sure that the process was any different. Like, I reminded myself the success of the business. I sat and stared at my plan. I had other people look at my plan and punch holes into it. And then I just kind of took one little step every day. And actually, it's funny because I'm in San Francisco now, but the big part about scaling the first business was that we would open our second office in San Francisco. And the one hard thing I remember doing before launching was, I'll just go out to San Francisco and see if I can find an office space. And like how things change. I was just with friends, met them for coffee in this super beautiful building. And I kept looking around and I was like, you guys, this was where our first office was 20 years ago. So it all came full circle last week.
Amazing, Beth. So your book is coming up in the fall. Talk to us about it. What are the main learnings that you put into the book? Tell us how we can, when it's coming out, when to pre-order, etc.
Oh, yeah. So it's coming out in September of 2026. If you go on our website, which is femalemaverics.com, for the next month or so, you'll be able to put yourself on a wait list for a pre-order. And if you do that, you get a discount to buy the book. And also, if you want to be an advanced reader, there's a slot for the first 100 that want to be advanced readers. We'll send out copies early. So all that's off femalemaverics.com. But on that website also, we have a newsletter. It's called Founders Files. It's free. It will always be free. It's got such good how-to, both mental but really practical. And so it's a great read and it's free. Subscribe. The book is called Entrepreneur Like a Mother, and it is really, really practical. It is aimed at, our mission, which is 10,000 women become seven-figure founders. And in our mind, it is the blueprint. And it starts all the way back with the concept that before you launch a business, like you better have not just done a really brilliant business plan and execution plan, but you also have to have matrixed in your personal and financial non-negotiables. And our publisher has us call it the Mommy Mayhem Matrix. See what you think of that. But basically, if you're at the top right hand of the grid, it means that you are maxed out on potential return for the business, but you're also willing to give up anything in your personal life to get there. That wasn't a decision that we were willing to make, right? We ratcheted back and we talk in that chapter, the personal non-negotiable, the financial non-negotiable, where we ended up on the graph. And I think because we were really able to get a great return for our business, I think there's hopefully a motivation that you could look at that and say, okay, that would be acceptable. So the first part of it is, how do you design the business, which may or may not be your passion and probably isn't, but you design a business model that really works for you. So there's a good chunk on that because we feel like if you design your business correctly, and if you're like us and you want to exit it, you design it with exit in mind, you're sort of 40% of the way there towards entrepreneurship. So the beginning part is on that. And then we go through the idea of testing your product in the market and being really nimble and changing your product and service with the market. We talk a lot about macro and micro pivots. We really talk about scaling. We get super practical on building your kitchen cabinet of business advisors. And I mean, there's a grid in there that helps you figure out what you have in spades and where you need help. And then there's even how we did it on LinkedIn DMs. And we talk about a nurture strategy, anything that is prescriptive enough and yet simple enough so that you could end that chapter and say, okay, I know what I need to do to build my kitchen cabinet. And then the last thing we talk about is scaling. And there's a great section in there about do not scale your business unless you're willing to stop being a perfectionist and you're willing to delegate. And here's what that looks like. So it's really practical, and it is meant to be a how-to, but also contains really funny, ridiculous stories that happened to us, right? Because we had 9 kids, and our client base, because of the business that we are in, were public company CEOs and CFOs. And we worked on really, really high stakes communications engagements. At the same time, when we're like, oh my God, is my kid in the principal's office again? Victoria, you got to take this call because I got to go, make sure Sammy doesn't get kicked out of school or something. And I mean, that was really kind of our life. So we do try and we included so many of those stories so that women could see, not that it was graceful, because we didn't always do it gracefully, but that you did it and you figured out a way to do it. And, my kids are older, so there's great stories in there about me going back to them now and saying, do you remember when I, messed this up as a mother? And, their responses are beautiful. They either don't remember it, they don't care. And hopefully you end up feeling like you could do some semblance of that. Your own personal version of that is doable for you.
Beth, and it's so important that all of you lead by example because that will show other women exactly how to do it. And I love that you have a really big vision of helping 10,000 women reach that seven-figure ceiling. Talk to us a little bit what, if you had sort of three top tips for mompreneurs, what would that be?
Oh, easy. One, get into the right business. So make sure that you have your end goal in mind. I just want to replace my corporate salary. I want to make a side business, or like we were, you want to exit. So make sure before you spend one dime, you open that checking account, you've got the model. And the model is, here's how I'm going to put money into my bank account, not here's how I'm going to find revenues. Here's how I'm going to do that. I do or do not have to scale, and here's how I'm going to do that. And I do or do not have to exit, and here's how I'm going to do that. So there's a great section on that in the book. And I just think generally that's number one. Number two, and this is where I feel like uh, women get scared, which is within that business model, you have financial non-negotiables you're not going to break, and you have personal ones. So our financial non-negotiable with both businesses is that we would not take on debt that A, the business couldn't generate cash for, and B, we didn't have money in our own checking accounts to cover or savings accounts. So that was really, really a tiny amount in the beginning and then ended up much bigger. But it gave us peace of mind that we couldn't go completely under and we couldn't put our family under that much pressure. So that was one. The personal side, Victoria was much, much better at this than me, but her personal side of it, one of her non-negotiables was I'm going to take the 4:45 train home and I'm going to be with my kids for dinner. And if that means I put them to bed and then I'm up till 4 in the morning working, I accept that. And mine very much was around not missing certain key kids events, which with travel was difficult. But we set that on day one and we broke it sometimes. But I have to say, and maybe it was because of both of us, we didn't break it as much. And this idea that you can have balance as a mom and an entrepreneur, I don't know what that is. I don't have it. I didn't have it. But I do think you can have a personal and financial non-negotiable that you don't break. And I think that might be more powerful than balance because that's actually achievable, whereas I don't think balance is. So I think that's the second, putting your non-negotiables. And then the third is, and moms are literally terrible at this. I cannot believe how many women I talk to. They mix up revenue and profits. So they chase revenue, not thinking through the profit side and also the cash flow side, right? Because you have to time it so that you collect and you've got cash in the bank to pay those bills. And I think the dreamy part of us, maybe as moms, or we're really busy, is that we are so focused on collecting revenue that we're not focused on the expense lines and also the timing of when we're going to get paid and when we have to pay people. That is like a very simple exercise once you have it down. But if you fail on that, your business will fail. You could have a great revenue business and you can still fail with profits and cash flow. And I think that is, if you're not financial minded or you're not math minded, that's just a little bit of a practice that you're going to learn, but you better learn it.
Beth, I love that you talk about not having had a balance because I think this is something that especially us women and mothers always think that this is what we have to strive for. And we always think we're not getting it right, right? Because there isn't a balance sometimes. So I'm wondering, how important was it for you to have Victoria as a partner in order to, whoop the whole thing?
Oh, it was night and day. It was, she was always a reminder, and I was a reminder for her to say, hey, you said you were going to make it to LA's soccer game. I will take on what you're doing right now, and then we'll switch after you put the kids to bed. But I think there also was an emotional load that we took off each other that, just hearing, as a mom entrepreneur, any mistake or problem that happens in your kid's life, it's your fault. I always took it on myself, and I would say it's because I'm working. It's because I wasn't there. And I have a lovely mom who was like, no, you guys still did stuff like that, and I wasn't working and I was home. So, get rid of that. But having a partner that could just take that emotional load and go, okay, today was not a great day for Ava, but you were there and tomorrow is going to be better. I think that's really helpful. And for women who don't have partners, that in the book, and we write about it in our free newsletter, so read it, it's super important. But that idea of building a kitchen cabinet, and there's three types of people in your kitchen cabinet: connectors, compensators, and cheerleaders. But that cheerleader that you build out in your kitchen cabinet, you have to do that thoughtfully. You have to make sure that when you have a big emotional load and you feel like you have made every mistake in the book, that you have someone that you can call and say, okay, like my kid's in trouble. I forgot to pay this. I once again missed my room mom slot, and I didn't even get the piece of business that I flew across the country to chase for, which is those are very real world to me. Those happened enough that I remember them sharply. But that you've got someone who can help you kind of carry that emotional load, remind you that you're not alone, but also remind you that you could be a perfect stay-at-home mom with an apron and fresh brownies, and almost everything could have still happened to you and your kid. And those are always, I think, really important things to remember. And you just, when you're right in the middle of it and you just feel terrible, you need someone to remind you.
Definitely. So talk to us about the Female Mavericks, all the work that you do, and possibly a little bit, a couple of tips on how to build seven-figure businesses.
Okay, so Female Mavericks is all about the mission in any way possible, getting content out to the world. So you can read it on LinkedIn, you can see it on Instagram, you go to our website, you read our newsletter. The one thing we hope you buy is our book. That is literally the only thing we're selling, and we hope when it's available that you will buy it. And we spend a bunch of time mentoring women, paying it forward. It's nothing we charge for. We feel incredibly blessed, and it's part of our mission. So that's Female Mavericks. I mean, I think and of course we want everyone to read the book. We want to be on the big show. Like that is our dream, right?
Yeah.
Because we know if we can do that, more and more people will get the message on the seven-figure business. Look, I think about this all the time because I not only have daughters who I think are entrepreneurial, but I have older nieces, and I've got two that are incredibly entrepreneurial, and I talk to them all the time, right? So I'm super sensitive to that 20, early 30s who want to do this. And so I'm going to tell you what I tell them. Number one, get your model right.
Mm.
Your passion might be that you love candles and soap, and that's awesome. But find me a business model that's differentiable with your ability to make soap, and great. And if not, find something else. And my lesson is that the business that we were in of communications, I liked, but I wasn't passionate about it. Now, Victoria was passionate about it, and she still is, right? She loved every second of it. I wasn't passionate about it. But what I found is that it was a business model that I could make money at. I knew how to sell. I was good at it. And where I got my passion from, which sustained me for 20 years in the two businesses, was 100%, I loved the scaling and building. That was really fun to me. And I also loved, we had these really great teams that ultimately got cut in on what we sold the business for, right? So you also got that psychic income. So I ended up really just enjoying mentoring those teams as well, even though the practice was nothing that gave me passion. So think about that, which is you might have this amazing skill set that you can use and you're not passionate about it, but you know you're really good at it. But make sure that that business model is top line, bottom line driven. The second is just start the business with that MVP, that minimum viable product or service. If you can get out of your head that the thing that you introduce in the world is perfect, if you can just say, I don't want to be wildly embarrassed the first time I sell. I mean, that was our bar. We had in our second business, we started a segment that ultimately grew really fast and was what got us the big valuation for the business. And our first product, we sold without knowing what we sold, not pricing it correctly. And we didn't even have a staff member at the time. We had hired someone, but she hadn't started yet, who could do it. And we both, because we had experience and we really wanted to scale, we were like, we will bird dog that product that we just sold until it's as perfect as it can be, and we will figure it out.
Mm.
And the funny part about that is the very first product we sold, which we actually thought was really brilliant. Months later, we said, okay, help us troubleshoot that product. He was like, oh, I only used the first 2 pages. It was like 200 pages of brilliance. And he paid for all 200 pages of brilliance. No joke. He was like, yeah, I'm sure the rest of it was really good. I am a CFO, so I did not have time to look through it. But those first 2 pages, all I needed was a couple things I had to do and the ability to present a plan to the board. Those first 2 pages were gold. And we just thought, okay, we could have had a big profit margin on that product, and we didn't. So the second part of it really is get comfortable with a minimum viable product or service, get comfortable taking feedback, and always like micro pivoting a little bit with what you're offering. Whether it's a perfect product does not have any reflection on you as an entrepreneur. It really doesn't. Your ability to listen, change, pivot does. So the second is just like pivot, 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 pivot. And the third is stop talking yourself out of your ability to scale. You may want to control the timing of your scale. I have a great person that I mentor who is in a stage where her kids need her more. And so her strategy, which I love, is to very slowly build a brand in a service that she's offering. She's got a few clients that she can service very well. She writes thought leadership. She does podcasts all around this topic that she really has a specialty in. And her strategy is I'm going to do this for 3 to 5 years. My kids are going to go to high school, and then I'm going to slowly start to scale. So her idea is I'm building brand, I'm building equity in my business, and I'm building a little nest egg to be able to invest. What an amazing way to launch versus saying I can't do it because I've got 3 little kids. And I think the second part of that is you may be in a mode where you have time and you are really aggressive and you're just terrified to launch, to scale. There are so many different ways to scale. There are bootstrap, there are incubators, there are small bank loans, whatever it is. Chase down each one of those. Find a woman that's done that. Hear what they've learned, and figure out if that's the right approach for you. And if not, try something else. This idea that you cannot scale your business unless you can get angel or VC investing. By the time someone offered us, by the time someone offered us equity growth capital, we did not need it. We were self-funding to scale. I'll never forget, they came in, they offered us all this money, and we thought, no, we already went through the really hard stuff. We're not giving you 51% of our business now that we know we can scale this ourselves. So whatever it is, don't get in your head that you cannot scale past 7 figures like it's some magical number. It's not. Write a plan, write a forecast. Maybe it'll take you a year, maybe it'll take you 10 years. Who knows? But businesses that get past the first couple year mark, and that's when they're de-risked, there's zero reason they can't get past the 7 figure mark, and don't embark on what's going to take so much of your time and so much of your energy without the knowledge and a plan that you could get there. I mean, the world changes when you're past that number.
Beth, so talk to us about that, that sort of moment when you realized you had a real plan. And when you achieved that point where you thought, I am at this point now, and this is potentially a point where we can sell and we can exit, which is what you had planned for. Talk to us about that moment, because I think all of us have different journeys, right? I have not had that set in plan, and I sort of went with the flow, and I was overwhelmed with 3 children, a husband that was never there, and I don't think I was in the situation where I could have planned it really well, but thankfully, I got to where I am today. Talk to us about that moment when you realized this plan is actually, it's coming.
Oh my gosh, you're going to love this. It was after I sold. When we started and we said, okay, we're going to get to 7 figures, then we're going to get to 3 million, then we're going to get to 5 million. We were moving so fast that I don't remember the moment we hit those milestones because we were so focused on what was ahead. And my learning, so by the time I took the victory lap. It was well after selling both businesses. And I think that was so mentally unhealthy, I can't even tell you. So what if, I mean, it was just because you're in constant momentum, which is not a particularly mentally healthy place to be. And I think it took me 1 year to like get my mind out of that, which was terrible. But my learning and what I try and share with people is write down the moments you'll take the victory lap, then hand those to your kitchen cabinet and make them force you to take a victory lap. So part of it's for your own psyche and your own confidence, right? That someone's like, remember when you said you couldn't get here, but you just got here. Part of it's for that. But the other part of it is if you could have a moment of clear thinking when you've achieved your goal, you might tweak your next goal. Yes, you might make it more aggressive. You also might make it less aggressive. You might say, I only want to get to the next goal if I also get this aspect of my life back. Whatever it is, I think I was so terrified to do it that I just didn't stop. And it was super mentally unhealthy. I had terrible habits. I didn't work out. I was constantly frantic and antic. And it was funny because the bigger my business got and the closer we got to sale, I think that mental game was worse. So my learning, which is what I'm trying to do right now, which is set a goal, try and celebrate it. And we always call it take your victory lap. And if you aren't capable of doing it, you better be surrounded by people in your life that go, stop right now, Stephanie, stop. We're going to celebrate this and we're going to talk about what's next. Um, when we were in the middle of the sales process, in both cases of the sales process, I think I was so anxious. I think part of me was like, this is fake. It's never going to happen. I mean, especially the second business, when some of the multiples got thrown around, it just wasn't like that was fake money. I didn't think that was ever going to happen. And so it was almost like I wasn't living in a real world. Uh, I didn't take a victory lap. And by the way, accordingly, I wasn't as clear thinking as I could have been. Without Victoria in the second business, I would have left money on the table. I was so shocked by the multiples they were talking about that I was like, here, take it, you know. And she was the one who said, nope, we can get a little more. Nope, we can get this. Nope, we can get this. So it was really helpful. And again, I go back to that same thing, which is if you could have someone, a partner is amazing, but also if you could have, maybe it's a spouse, it's a partner. I mean, I am divorced after 24 years, which is super terrible and was the worst thing ever. But I will say in the first business, my spouse was very, very helpful. He was the person that I was able to say, does this make sense? Does this make sense? And he was also the person that made me stop after the money was in our account and said, this is a really big deal, Beth. Like this is that number that we have 4 kids, that's going to pay for their colleges. Like, do you know that you just took that off the table? So whoever knows you well enough that can support it with you to jolt you into reality, because when things get really heady, I don't know how many people can remember that moment. We can retroactively remember it, but I don't know how many people can remember it. And the other thing I'd say is if on day one of your business, if you were like, when I get to this number, I'm going to begin the sales process, it also kind of takes the mystery out of exit. You're like, okay, I'm approaching that number. It's time for me to start. There's nothing in your head of, is my business good enough? Am I good enough? Could I do this? Nope, it's in your plan. So you're executing on it.
Beth, I love listening to you. And as I'm listening to you, I'm wondering, after you sold the first business, how did you get on to the second one? Because I think a lot of people, even though they had this incredible success, they're really weary of starting again.
Yeah. No, and I did go through that and I really recognized that I really recognize that fatigue. I think there are two things. One, when I sold the first business, I was contractually obligated to work for that firm for a few years.
Yeah.
And I wasn't out of the game. And because I wasn't out of the game, I initially said, well, this is great. I can be an entrepreneur within this company and I'm covered and I've made my money. Great. Well, what happened with me is in trying to be an entrepreneur and seeing like a business opportunity, which ultimately we leverage with business number two, I couldn't get anyone to pay attention. And I was super senior. I was the chairman of North America for this very large consulting firm, our segment. I couldn't get any love for my idea. And at that point, Victoria was working for me, and we both were talking to clients, and we knew it was a great strategy. So I think mine was unique in the sense that I was forced to stay in it because I couldn't leave. And once I was in it, I just thought, oh, I got one more in me. And by the way, Female Mavericks, this is funny. When I first started, it was very mission based. About month 3, I was like, wait, I got one more in me. I can scale this thing. And it was Victoria who stopped me and said, no, you don't. This is mission based. You do not want to work 80 hours a week. You do not want to be on planes all the time. You do not want to start this paid membership community where you're working 80 hours a week. She was the one who scaled me back. I swear I would have gone for it a third time, even though financially I do not have to, emotionally I do not want to. I was like, here's an idea. And it was constantly her saying no. So, I think you either have it or you don't. And it's so funny because I think the financial side of it seems like it'd be the big driver, but it really wasn't either time. It was the, wait, I could probably do this. Wait, I would say having someone like Victoria in your camp to help you remember what you want to get out of it, what you really want to get out of it is really useful.
Yeah, I love that you are the perfect poster child for a partnership, and I love listening to you pointing all of that out. So, what do you feel success means to you now?
Oh, 100%. I think probably what it's always meant, which is freedom. Today's Tuesday. I get to decide what I want to do. And that doesn't mean, I have 4 kids, age 20 through 24. I have aging parents. I have a boyfriend with aging parents. I have a lot of responsibilities, but on any given day, the freedom to say, like, I did this for tomorrow. I cleared my schedule. I'm taking the full day. I'm doing a long hike. I'm reading. I'm just like getting myself set back. That is an amazing, not only does that give you kind of comfort, it also opens your brain and your heart to things that I would never have done in the past. So to me, it is time freedom. It is your choice. And I think the big decision that women are making when they're thinking go to corporate to entrepreneurship, because they realize that they might work the same number of hours, the one thing that they miss is you as an entrepreneur, you get to decide on any given Tuesday what's most important to least important. And I do think that's the massive difference between corporate and entrepreneurship. You're not going to work less. You're probably not going to have less stress. Money is always going to be a stress. But there is something about, especially as a mom, saying, okay, you guys, we're all taking a snow day. I'm canceling everything and we're all just going to hang out in the house because we haven't seen each other enough this week. Like there's some real power in that.
Yeah, it's amazingly powerful to have that freedom. Yeah. Beth, so talk to us about those tips to people who are listening, who are in a partnership. And you painted so beautifully, but it can be also hard, right? There are moments when you don't agree and you have to agree to disagree, and sometimes the visions aren't aligned. What would you say to those people?
Oh, I would say have it out. Victoria is such an amazing person because I am a very much, I'm going to take my ball and go home. And someday you're going to figure out how smart I really was. She will not allow that. She forces full transparency, have it out. And, in the beginning, we tell each other we love each other. At the end, we tell each other we love each other. But man, we don't always feel it. What I would say is, your futures are so intertwined that you don't have any choice but to be incredibly transparent and honest. And not only were we really transparent and thought it out, but we would also go to our kitchen cabinet And we would talk about, I had this great thing where I called my best friend. I was like, I swear to God, I'm just going to run over her with my car. She is not listening, and I am right. And I remember Leslie saying so kindly, you two have a really special relationship, and neither of you have sisters, but you really are sisters. Isn't that lucky? Like, she did not opine on the argument. She did not opine on the fact that I was going to run over Victoria with my car. She reminded me about the importance of the relationship, which allowed me to go back and say, okay, well, we're never breaking up. So how about I'm going to give in here? I'm going to give in here. That's one. And the other thing I would say is we are both really humble about the areas we're not good at. So, like, I write this blog, and it's actually in the book about I gave up pricing. I underpriced everything. I cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. So halfway through the business, I was like, I'm done. I've left more money on the table than I ever could. Victoria, you are now the official pricer. And I mean, there are times where she would double my price, and I would be like, that's fine. We're never gonna get that client. Mostly we did get it closer to her price than mine. And so we're really humble about, and for her, what she is humble about is I feel like I can see a playing field 3 years from now in a way most people cannot. That's like my one secret sauce. So anytime where we were talking about where we were going to invest, and I strongly felt like I know that the world's going this way, whether she agreed or not, she shut up. And then we would do it. And if it didn't work right away, I would say, oh, let's give up. And she would say, absolutely not. So we tried to be transparent. We fought like hell. We knew that breaking up wasn't an option. And, we got really lucky with each other for sure.
Beth, what do you think have you passed on to your children going through all of this?
Oh, they absolutely believe they can do stuff. They don't they don't come to me and say, I mean, they come to me with fears and sadness and all those things, but they don't come to me and say, I don't think I can get this. Like, I have a daughter who is a photographer and filmmaker in LA, which is the quickest way to make no money, and live on the streets. First of all, she's incredibly resilient, but what she does is she comes to me with a problem of how could I get from here to here? She does not call me and say, I can't get here. She'll say, okay, I tried this, and I tried this. What else could I do? That's an amazing gift to give your kids. I probably gave them like lots of ticks too, but the ability to see that they can always get where they want to, that's pretty powerful. I have to say as a mom, I'm super happy for that, for whatever role I played in that.
It's very empowering. Yeah. So what are your plans and goals in 2026 and beyond? We know the book is coming out, Entrepreneur Like a Mother. We want everyone to go on the Female Mavericks website and sign up, be an advanced reader or a pre-order. Yeah. What else?
I think I'm going to write a second book. I've got to convince Victoria, but I think I can sell like a mother. We're writing a book proposal for it right now, simply because I think selling is something that women are just amazed you can do. And there are so many services businesses for women. That's what we start. And there's some belief that because it's not a product, we can't sell it. And that's not true at all. So I think, and then I swear, okay, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to do some serious hiking. I'm going to go hike in Japan for a couple weeks. I'm a big hiker, so I'm going to do a couple of serious hikes. And maybe then I'll stop. But, per our earlier conversation, maybe I won't.
I can't see it.
Maybe I'll come up with some third version of Like a Mother. I don't know.
Definitely you will. Beth, what takeaways would you like our listeners to have from your story and your insights if you had to sum it up?
Number one, just open your mind. Open your mind that corporate is not as safe as you think it is. and it's not the only option. So number one, open your mind. And number two, this idea that you can't be the mother your kids need, or that your kids will be impaired or affected with a entrepreneur mom. I mean, I can only say from my own life and Victoria's, not only are they not impaired, I think they're incredibly resilient and strong. And together, you and your kids, you will figure out the model for you as a mom and an entrepreneur. And I mean, my kids are older right now, so I want everyone to hear this. They are my biggest cheerleaders. They are my biggest supporters. They are, everything they see, they're like, oh God, mom, of course you're doing that. Like I feel so much support. And when I bring up, crazy, terrible things I missed or whatever I did as moms, that's not the way they remember it. I beat myself up. They don't. And they're not in jail, and they're functioning members of society with jobs. And they not only call their mother almost every day, they call their grandparents. Like, they're good kids. And I see the same thing with Victoria's kids, even though they're younger. Like, having a mom as an entrepreneur is just what they have. They don't think about it ever. And in some way they're proud. So don't have your kids be a crutch, and don't have corporate stability be a crutch for not starting a business. It may not be your thing, then don't do it. But if it's a dream that you have and you have a plan, you don't get those easy crutches. You got to take the big hard step forward.
Beth, I love your story. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for showing your insights. I would love for everyone to think about your kitchen cabinet, because I think that is instrumental in us women building our ventures or businesses or innovations or ideas or whatever it is. I think it's really important for us women to unlock our potential. I think there'll have to be many more entrepreneurs in the future, in the times that we live in and that we are projected to live in. It's going to unlock our potential. It's going to charge our economies, which is really important. And I feel that private companies are the next big thing.
Yes.
We cannot be sort of linked to a stock market and macro and micro influences as much. And I feel that this is the way forward. So I'm so excited to have you. Entrepreneur Like a Mother. Please, everyone, look out for it. And thank you, Beth, so much for your time.
Thank you, Stephanie.
And your incredible story.
Thank you, Stephanie.